Wait for it. There it is. Hey, turn it down. You can't tell which one is me. Anyway, whoever remembers how to open the gate before I get there earns a cookie. This is the last video in the Voltaic series, so it might already be a little late to talk about the route I took throughout my time here, but I'll do it anyway. Besides, we're almost there already. One little thing I managed to fit in here was I traveled along each path at least once in each direction. Like that ladder I climbed up just now, I climbed down that same ladder when we first arrived. Of course, there are other places, like right here, I traveled through more than twice, but nevertheless. I don't know where the wires are that well, I guess there are a few nodes near the beginning I only traveled through once, but that would be the only exception. Now, I had several options on how to do this, since unlike Idana, the puzzles don't have to be solved in a specific order. Rather, they come in pairs. The water wheel puzzle unlocks the electromagnet chamber, and the puzzle over in the lava chamber activates the steam valves. But the pairs are otherwise separate and can be worked on independently. And with all these drastic changes that occur in each lesson age right up until the point you get the symbol, you might wonder what would happen if you were to return to a completed age later on. Well, here's what's supposed to happen. Well, now that in theory, everything that was affected during the final ride resets, so you can ride it all over again if you want. For example, when you first return to Voltaic, you'll see this airship goes back to its spot behind the gate, and it's still inflated and ready for you to pull the lever again. However, it seems the testers weren't entirely thorough in verifying all resetting features worked properly. There are a couple glitches present both here and in Amateria. I'll talk more about that later on as it comes up. And I haven't decided yet whether it'd be worth it to make a whole separate video for it. It's not terribly exciting, but still, glitches are kind of fun. Then again, seems like balancing on only one cable would be kind of wobbly. Did Cirrus and Akinar take this lesson course together? I'm not so sure I needed to lead into the audio skit with any kind of foreshadowing. I mean, I didn't want people to have to figure out what was going on after it started. But at the same time, maybe it would have been more effective if I had just jumped right into it. Oh well.
Dad, Cirrus is poking me again. I am not.
Yes, headphone users, I simulated these voices to be coming from opposite sides of the cart. There's also the flurry of soft slapping noises before the big hit, but they're kinda obscured by the airship's own creaky noises.
And don't talk through the cutscene.
That's really more of a Muppet impression than an Atris one. And I think this is an okay cutscene to talk over. The important thing to remember about cutscenes is that when Savidro talks, you listen. Watch out, there's another break between recording sessions right up here. But don't mind the obvious change in the water, that happens anyway. Why have we stopped? The brake release isn't working. What's going on here? I found that bad click sound really came in handy throughout this series. Well, here's the cable we were riding along. It is a little quiet, but still, it's better than nothing, since you can't hear actual clicks with post-commentary. Leads all the way over to the... well, no. But there is this and here I'm kind of making fun of myself for my confident explanations of all this complicated machinery. And now I'm commentating on my facetious spoof of my analytical nature. So, how do we fix all this? Can I be any more self-absorbed? Oh. Well, we've already solved one single lever on the gantry puzzle, so this isn't really much of a challenge, is it? Right. Because we have experience. And this is why I explained everything in such minute detail up to this point. Who is not completely lost the first time they see this? And yeah, when you come back later, everything supposedly resets, including this thing. It's not just that issue of setting the island back down like I talk about in the video. But even the dirt gets put back, so we can reuse the same Bink file.
Yeah, take that, you stupid hermit. But in all seriousness,
So I'm sure everyone's wondering what the heck that imaginary hermit's all about. It's so random, yet it isn't even that funny. Well, I normally don't go for inside jokes, but there was a time in college I was with a friend at night out on the street. We saw this creepy looking house over on the other side, and a hermit came out and shot us. I mean, we started making up stories about it. I don't know. I think we were in a mentally compromised state that often happens in college on the weekend.
These magnets repel against the lower ones in the electromagnet chamber that we turned on earlier. And the force is
There's a
so
rumor
strong
out there that the
blasts the whole
electromagnet
island into the
chamber
air.
puzzle has a really quick
There's one of the
solution
lower
with
magnets
only
right
a few
there.
button presses. Well,
And then there are all
that
these
depends on
rocks
which
that are
version
in
you play.
midair between the crater and
It's
the
not
island.
supposed to be like that.
Must have a lot
The
of
initial
iron in
setup
there or
is supposed to be random.
So are they
Unfortunately,
thinking
a particularly
Well, you
easy
might recall
configuration
something
ended up
similar
getting
before.
stuck there in the CD
Remember that
version.
electric crank in
The quick
Sneako's
solution is
laboratory
easy to
back on
stumble
John?
into, not just
The
because
one
it's
that
only
powered up
8
the little
moves,
fly trap?
but it
It
also
could
only
be
uses
hooked up to
buttons
an
on the right side of the
electromagnet
grid.
that caused little iron filings to rise
So
in the
naturally,
air.
when I covered it, I used the left buttons as I
those
walked around the
rocks better be
cylinder
good for
and took
something.
my time on that puzzle. However, this bug was fixed in the DVD and
And we can't
PlayStation
reverse
2
the
versions.
process. That's too bad.
So yeah,
Sure, watching
I'm
the
playing
island
the
fly in
CD
the air was
version.
pretty cool, but suddenly shutting off the power and seeing it free fall back down would be awesome. Then again, it also
Yeah,
sounds
I
like
know
it'd
the
be a
5
disaster.
magnets make a nice Riven
Actually,
tribute,
how would you set
but
the
it
island
seems
back
like
down
an
safely?
even number might be
I don't
more
know, but
stable,
it's not really our concern
since you'd have
anyway.
opposite pairs of magnets balancing out. But maybe not, I don't know.
What is our concern is now the airship has advanced forward.
I'm
and
gonna crack a
connected
joke
the
here in a
cable to the
second.
island.
Listen.
So, it looks like we can ride this thing again. But I would ditch that pocket knife if I were you. Unless you want to get yanked into the magnets by your rear end.
Okay, that joke right there. It was actually one of the first jokes I thought of in the entire video series. At the time, I was running through the game once to refresh my memory a bit before I started on the project. And I thought, yeah, I need to remember to
Thanks
use
for
that.
flying Voltaic Airlines and all that. Please exit the vehicle.
I figured there were enough fake airline jokes out there already,
Gee,
so
things
I made
sure look
mine
different
speedy.
From the last time we were here. You think?
Okay, 2 of the glitches that I was talking
here's
about
another
earlier
big
are
change.
right around here.
That huge door is
One of them
finally
has to
getting
do with the
power
big
now,
door.
just like everything
Now,
else on
it's
this
obviously
island.
supposed to be closed
I
when
guess
you're
that's not
standing
too
this
much of a
far away.
surprise.
So the pre-rendered shots from
You know,
back
if I were
here
standing on
always show
Voltaic
it
in real
closed.
life, I wouldn't do this.
And if you walk up and open it, then
I would
step
be
away
toying
again,
with death.
you'll hear the door close and everything works as you'd expect.
And I haven't really commented on
However,
this yet, but
the door is
overall
supposed
lack
to
of
stay
safety
open
railings
as
in
long as
Voltaic
you're
is
inside the
appalling.
building, which would be okay, but it looks like they forgot to close it when you link back to
Hey, the
Jananit.
barbecue pit fell
This
over.
means that when you come
But
back a
it doesn't mean
second
it's locked,
time,
does it?
the door will still appear
Oh, well,
closed
I
in
guess
all
the
the
hermit already
pre-rendered
ate the
shots
book.
from far away like I just said, but
Well,
once you
okay.
walk all the way up to
Jokes
the
aside,
building and
what
stand as
really
close to
lies
the
in
door
this
as you
temple of
can,
levitation?
it suddenly appears open right here, without you doing anything. And the other glitch involves the airship.
Wow, it
When
sure
you
looks
first
pretty
arrive
cool
up
in
here, the
Well,
Voltaic
with all
theme
this
music
blue
starts
lighting and
playing.
whatnot.
Apparently there's some line in the code that says to advance the music when you arrive on that node inside the airship.
Remember when we were
Unfortunately, it's
outside
set
and
to
saw how
advance the
power line
music
went right up to the
every
top of
time
this
you arrive
building?
on that node. Which
Now you
means
can
if you
see
hop
how it
off and
splits
back
into
on
5
again,
wires that
the music
power
will
the 5
change to what
electromagnets.
plays after you've solved one of the Voltaic
They also power
puzzles.
the 5 lights in the room.
Keep doing that
Fairly
and you'll
efficient.
get the music for 2 and 3 puzzles. Of course, that glitch can be triggered the first time you're up here. You don't have to go all the way back around.
Here we go.
Unlike that door outside, they did remember to
again.
reset these doors down
What do we
here
gotta
after
do
you
now?
leave.
Oh.
It's a trap!
I know being around magnets shouldn't be a problem, even super ridiculous ones, but still I'd be afraid that trace amounts of iron in my veins would be enough for them to rearrange my internal organs. Okay, while I'm delivering this silly line up here, I'm also clicking on the ground below as if I'm trying to jump out.
Hold on to that
But like I said
with
earlier,
one hand,
sometimes
bend
that sound is
together,
too
and
quiet,
hold on for
so
dear
maybe
life to
this'll
the
help.
third. We just found the second symbol. That's what those rocks are for. And if you look past them, you get a bird's eye view of the electromagnet chamber. So, can we open this now?
And another thing about that line is that I think it was one of the last things I put into this video.
The spare linking book.
Kind of the opposite of the pocket knife joke.
Well, we got what we came for, so...
And that's the
I
greatest
guess it's
advantage
time
about
to head on
post-commentary. You put your best material in whenever you think of it. You don't have to remember it on the spot. I don't know, is that my best material? I guess that's a matter of opinion. The point is, I can tweak the video until I get it just right.
Ah, it sure is good to be home, isn't it?
I realized later that I had already
Let's
called
turn in this
Myst
symbol.
Island home in the
See
real
what
Myst
message
series.
Shadyblog has for us now.
I'd prefer not to use the same line twice, but I guess I could spin it as a positive by calling it a theme or something. The camera is still free to move around with the mouse after you drop the page here. I just always found watching the imprint to be the most interesting, so I never show the light turn on at the top of the device. And right here, the camera automatically locks on the book cage while it's opening. For some reason, it doesn't do that with the first page. I remember it being kind of tricky to focus on it the whole time as it rose quickly out of the pit. Had to try several times to get that.
I read your journal, you know.
Oh, and also, did you notice how the circular imprint is designed to contain 4 glyphs? You don't really think much about that until after you finish the game.
How you started their world again. Can you really do that, Atris?
Perhaps Brad Dourif will be most remembered in this game, as he is in other roles, for his portrayal of overt emotions and generally crazy behavior. But what I admire most are the little subtle things he's able to do in scenes like this. My favorite recording in this game is the first observatory speech. I didn't even notice this the first 20 times I watched it, but he actually sheds a tear right before he laughs and tells you to go find the new symbols. I have no idea how he's able to do stuff like that.
Well, we've read Atris's journal too, so we know...
By the way, is it Dourif or Dourif?
Atris's efforts
My
to restore the
research
Dunny
kept
have
giving me
nothing to do with
50-50
rewriting
results, no
Ages.
matter how much I looked.
After trying to rebuild the Dunny city by hand, Atris wrote Relishon, which
Although
is,
I
of course,
refer to
a
these
complete
speeches
separate
as
page.
recaps of what
When
we've already learned thus
Vito
far,
made this
they
mistake,
also contain a little
his original
foreshadowing
plan
as
for
well.
revenge was just cold-blood murder
For
until he
example,
found the
you'll
journal,
hear me talk about the
which
rift
gave
the
him a
brothers
glimmer of
created
hope, and he
between the
designed
younger
this
and
course
older
instead
generations
to
of
try to
Narayan.
persuade Atris to rewrite
Now,
Narayan.
technically, this hasn't been
Now,
revealed
this
yet.
misunderstanding is
I
reasonable.
claim it
The
came from
concept of
entry number
rewriting
8 on
Ages was
Voltaic,
repeatedly beaten into
but
his
that's
head
only
by
partly
Sears and
true.
Agnar. We read about this
That
in the
entry
journal
only
entry on
describes
Voltaic,
the
and we
philosophical
saw it in the
dissonance
mural
between
on
the two
Idana.
parties, but not
Brothers
specifically
started
who the
plotting
parties are
Narayan by
themselves.
convincing the younger citizens
That element is
that
actually
Atris
revealed
created
in entry
Narayan
number
merely
6
as a
on
part of the
Amateria.
lesson course. And so the Narayan
Another
citizens
example
were
of this
slaves
happens
to
in
a
the
meaningless
previous speech.
tradition caused by an
I
intentionally
figured entry
flawed
number
design.
2 on Idana was
This
enough
caused
for
the
me to
younger
go ahead and
generations to
describe
rebel against
Atris's
the
arrival
elders
on
of
Jananin,
Narayan, who were advocates
but
of
the full
tradition
synopsis
and
of that
Narayan's
event really
history.
takes place in entry number
But
1
there
on
are also a few
Voltaic.
things I'd like to clear up about
Of
age
course,
writing.
the main reason I'm compelled to
First
do
of all,
this is the
writing
timing
cannot actually
constraint.
create an age,
I wanted to
but
spill all the
rather only
recap
form a
material
link
at
to a
these points in the
pre-existing
game
one.
so that I wouldn't
As a
have to
side
say
note,
much after
one person who made
Amateria.
this mistake was
But I do
Atris's
like the
father
effect it
Yen,
produces.
the antagonist
The
of second
foreshadowing
game
is put in
Rivet.
plain terms,
However,
so by the
making
time we
changes
encounter
to
more
the scripted
foggy
book
journal
can
entries
change
later
certain
on,
properties
they're
of an
easier to
age.
pierce through.
Ironically, though, the practice is generally considered dangerous. And
On
is
another
banned by
commentary
Voltaic
video,
because
I
of
said
its
I preferred to
tendency
have the video end
destabilize
right after the
others.
recap.
So Sears
Turns
and
out this was the
Agnar's
only
promise
time
to
I was
fix
actually able to
Narayan
do that.
was completely unfounded.
I really
Besides,
hate the
they didn't really
division
know how
after
to write
Idana,
ages anyway.
because part
But that
15
part
is
doesn't
really
even matter.
rushed. Yet, it doesn't include the elevator music or the voltaic telescope like it should. It would have worked out much better if YouTube increased their video limit just a few weeks earlier.